Audio sync in 3, 2, 1, and... Hey guys, KiraKennedy here with the December 20th edition of Vlogmas. For those of you who do not know, Vlogmas is a series where I'll be posting a video blog every single day in the month of December. And today, it is finally time for my review of Clash of Champions. For those of you who do not know, WWE Clash of Champions was a pay-per-view that aired this past Sunday live on the WWE Network, and the gimmick was basically that every single SmackDown title, because this was hosted by WWE SmackDown brand, every single champion on SmackDown would put their title on the line, which is kind of sad how WWE looks at their titles at this point. When they have to have a pay-per-view saying, yeah, we're defending all our titles for sure. And I'm going to kind of leave the smarky rambling there, or try to at least. I might go back to smarky rambling at some point, and I do apologize for that. The show itself was okay. It was your basic, I think I mentioned this yesterday, but it was your basic filler pay-per-view between Survivor Series and the Royal Rumble. Sorry, another early morning at work. Anyways. It's basically filler pay-per-view between Survivor Series and Royal Rumble. And I wasn't really expecting anything to flat out blow me away. In fact, I was... honestly, I was actually expecting worse. And I'm glad it wasn't outright terrible on that front. So let's kind of jump into it, just so I'm not... taking too long to get this done, because I want to keep this under 15 minutes. So let's kick things off with the pre-show match, which featured the Battle of the Hype Bros, Mojo Rawley taking on Zack Ryder, which this feud basically started after Mojo turned on Zack and attacked him basically after losing to, I think, the Bludgeon Brothers. Basically, the whole story was that Mojo thinks Zack was just trying to ride his coattails. And for a match that had only been set up, like, this past week, like, even after SmackDown aired, so it was a last-minute announcement for the show, there was some good build to it between Mojo and Zack on Twitter, which led to probably one of Mojo's best promos. It was basically, again, talking about how Ryder got hurt all the time. Mojo was the one carrying the weight in the tag team, which, it wasn't anything that really blew me away, but, it's still one of the best promos I've seen from Mojo. Even the match itself was surprisingly good. Like, Mojo, I'll be honest, Mojo's never really blown me away in the ring with his in-ring work. But here, him and Ryder, they really worked well together, and there was some really good chemistry. Mojo was slightly dominating here. Ryder did get a bit of offense in. There was this one cool moment where Ryder went for one of his signature moves called the Broski Boot, which is basically he sets down his opponent in the corner, runs to the other side, does a little fist pump taunt, then boots the guy in the face. So Ryder basically set up Mojo for the Broski Boot, but didn't do the fist-pumping taunt, which I think was some good storytelling on their part there. But in the end, Mojo got the win. I can't exactly remember how, because while it was a good match, it was slightly forgettable. So I don't... But Mojo came out on top, which I think was really the only... outcome there, especially since Mojo had just turned heel. If you have him lose just after turning heel, you're basically putting him in Dolph Ziggler territory. Actually, speaking of Ziggler, we move on to the main card now at this point, with a triple threat match for the WWE United States Championship. You had champion Baron Corbin defending his title, I should say, against Bobby Roode and the aforementioned Dolph Ziggler. Ziggler was kind of like a last-minute addition to this match, I think. And a lot of people kind of like writing him off, myself included, because all Ziggler ever does is lose. but this was a good match. This was to be expected. You know, Rude's a good wrestler. Ziggler's a good wrestler. Corbin is okay. He's not, you know, in ring wise, he's not, you know, his work won't blow you away, but you know, you give him a good solid opponent to work with, and he'll step his game up, and he did here. You know, one of the problems with doing the show a couple days after the fact is that sometimes you're going to forget like a lot of the really big spots in this match, and unfortunately, while this was a decent match, again, I don't really remember a lot of the very big spots in the match, except for the finish, which was a finish we've seen before because it was in another triple threat match that involved Ziggler and Corbin. Basically, Ziggler hit the zigzag on Corbin while Corbin hit the end of days on Rude. Sorry, I had to step away to answer a phone call, but basically, I think I was talking about the finish before. You had Corbin hitting the end of days on Rude while Ziggler hit his finisher, the zigzag on Corbin. We saw this once before in a triple threat match involving AJ Styles, Ziggler, and Corbin, also for the United States Championship, coincidentally. And it's a really cool visual there. And in the end, Ziggler actually won a match. Shocking, I know. And became a two-time United States champion? Yep, he became a two-time United States champion. I originally was a little skeptical about this when I'd heard about it happening on Monday morning, just scrolling through Twitter, because I did, unfortunately, get spoiled to the result of this match. And I think that was part of the reason why I just don't remember much of it as well, because, you know, once you kind of go in knowing the outcome of a match, I guess you're not as likely to pay attention to it, or at least that's my opinion about it. Like, if I know the outcome of a match going into it, I'm gonna be like, yeah, okay, this, and this, and I'll kind of coast through it. Now I was a little skeptical about it, but I got to thinking about it, and I thought, well, if this is gonna set up Ziggler versus Rude at Mania for possibly Rude to win the title there, that would be cool. And then SmackDown happened. See, this is the reason why I usually like to wait until after the post-pay-per-view show, the post-pay-per-view show, whether it be the post-pay-per-view Raw or SmackDown, because this is usually where the fallout happens, and sometimes some really big changes can happen. Here you had Ziggler cutting a promo basically saying how underappreciated he was and how he was done, how he was basically fed up with the WWE. And it ended with him, a la Shane Douglas. I'll show a video of what happened there. Threw down the title and walked out of the ring. Now, whether this means Ziggler is done and they're basically vacating the title, or it's done in storyline to maybe set up a new title belt to be created, which has been rumored for the U.S. title for at least a year now, I think. There's been rumors that they want to make the U.S. title look a lot more like the Intercontinental title. But yeah, Ziggler won, and then he threw the title down on a SmackDown after the show. So I'm actually interested to see where this goes, you know? Kudos to WWE. They finally did something interesting with Ziggler. You know, this is the first interesting thing they've done with him since his feud with The Miz last year, I think. No, this is the most interesting thing they've done with him since his feud with The Miz last year. Because, you know, him turning heel was interesting for all of 2 seconds until he started losing every single match he was in. You know, nobody takes Ziggler seriously anymore. And, you know, if this isn't just a storyline for him to actually leave the WWE, you know, and they actually do more with it, I'm interested, you know, consider me sold on Ziggler. After that, we had a fatal 4-way match for the WWE SmackDown Live Tag Team Championships. You had the Usos defending their titles against American Beta, the team of Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin. The New Day being represented by Kofi Kingston and Big E. And, of course, the team of Rusev, and Aiden English. I had originally on Twitter, I predicted this as I thought this match, when I was doing my predictions on Twitter, was just one-on-one between American Beta and the Usos. But apparently Rusev, Aiden English, and the New Day got added in last minute. But this was a really good match. There was some kind of really sloppy points at the beginning. Like, there was this one exchange between Jay and I think Chad Gable that was very awkward looking. But you had some cool moments. Like Aiden English had, I think had Kofi Kingston in a headlock, while Chad Gable had Jey Uso in a hammerlock. That was really cool. They were kind of just looking at each other, trying to outdo each other with their submission holds. I did the air quotes because stuff like that is usually in a match. The points kind of lulls in the match where one wrestler will talk to the other wrestler about spots that they're gonna be coming up. I'll admit, so basically what I'd written here in my notes, because I've actually got the notes I'd written open on my phone. Basically, it was a good match overall. It was a little bit slow in the middle, but the ending was kind of anticlimactic. Basically, you had Chad Gable hitting his rolling Chaos Theory German suplex on Aiden English, Rusev, Kofi, and Big E. Then he hit only to eat a super kick from Jimmy Uso and then get pinned after a splash by Jey Uso. I don't know. I think like the Usos are kind of really starting to win me over with their Uso penitentiary shtick. But for whatever reason, the Usos winning matches is just kind of, it doesn't do anything for me. Maybe the Usos still need to grow on me a little, or I don't know. But for whatever reason, even though I love their promos, the Usos wrestling bores me for some reason, or the Usos as champions bores me. I can't say their matches bore me. They've had some good matches, but again, just for whatever reason, the Usos as champions bore me now. I don't know what else I can say about that. So let's move on to the next match, which was a lumberjill match. They called it a lumberjack match, but usually, because it was a women's match, they usually call it a lumberjills. But basically what happened, I'm rambling. You had Natalya taking on SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte in a lumberjack match, which basically means the rest of the women's division on SmackDown was surrounding the ring, and their job was to basically throw anyone back in if they fell out. This match was messy. Honest to God, I'm not a big fan of lumberjack matches. They devolve into clusters so bad, like cluster. You know what I mean. I'm trying not to swear in these videos. It was a cluster. It was a clusterfuts. You know, it was messy. There was a lot of very, very awkward moments. Like you had one moment where everyone, all the heels were kind of ganging up on Charlotte, and you had this awkward moment where Liv Morgan accidentally hit her partner, Sarah Logan, in the back of the head. And I mean, honest to God, I've seen Natty and Charlotte wrestle so often now that as good as their matches are, it doesn't do anything for me anymore. It's like watching Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens wrestle, or Sheamus and Cesaro wrestle, you know, back when they were doing their best of 7 series, you know? Because the match was good. It was a bit of a clusterfuts, which was to be expected given the lumberjack format. But it didn't do much for me, and to me, it felt like the weakest match on the card. In the end, Charlotte won after countering the sharpshooter into her finisher, the figure 8, which is basically her father's finisher, the figure 4, which is a leg lock with a back bridge added in, which is supposed to somehow make it hurt more. I don't know how. I don't understand how the figure 4 itself can hurt, but then again, I've never been put in one. And then you had Natty cut of what I said in my notes to be a very, very weak sauce promo about how she was done trying to please the SmackDown fans, which is weird because she's been a heel this whole time, and her job has been to be as annoying as possible, which, mission accomplished, Natty. Basically my summary of it, it was an okay match that was a bit of a clusterfuck and had a terrible finish. A terrible promo afterwards. It's really all I have to say. After that, we come to one of the only non-title matches on the card, which is weird for a show called Night of Champions, but I guess they can't do a 2-hour show with only 4 matches, so. You had the team of Breezango, Fandango, you have to breathe the A's, and Tyler Breeze, taking on the Bludgeon Brothers, Luke Harper and Eric Rowan. I'm going to read my notes verbatim on this one because it pretty much sums up my thoughts on the match. It was a squash. I wrote these notes in before the match even started while Breezango made their entrance. 5 minutes later, they're both dead, they are no more, they've passed on to meet their makers, they've ceased to be, bereft of life, they rest in pieces, they've shuffled the mortal coil, they've run down the curtain and gone to join the bloody choir invisible. This is an X-tag team. Basically, the Bludgeon Brothers killed the Fashion Police, which was to be expected because they're being built as this kind of monster tag team, and Breezango, for the most part, have kind of been comedy guys, which I'm not complaining because I love the Fashion Files. The Fashion Files have been some of the most entertaining stuff SmackDown has been doing in weeks. You know, it's been one of the few things I've been going out of my way to watch, even though I haven't watched SmackDown. And that's really all I have to say about it. Bludgeon Brothers win, which was to be expected, and they move on to whatever's next. Maybe a feud with the Usos for the tag titles. I don't know. I'd actually be looking forward to that because the Usos, Harper and Rowan, have had good matches in the past. After that, you had a tag team match. Shinsuke Nakamura and Randy Orton taking on the team of Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, with both SmackDown Commissioner Shane McMahon and SmackDown General Manager Daniel Bryan serving as special guest referees. The match itself was really decent, though I really wasn't a fan of the two refs aspect. I mean, it did a good job kind of telling the story of tension between Shane and Daniel, and Shane kind of letting his frustration with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens get the better of him on several occasions, including one point near the end where basically Sami had rolled up Orton. Orton had hit an RKO on Sami, only for Daniel Bryan to kind of trip and land on Shane in right before he could hit 3, which somehow was enough for Shane to break the count. I never understood that about wrestling. Why hitting someone is just enough to break the count or whatever. Then again, I'm not a ref, so I don't know these things. Then after Shane argued with Daniel for a bit, Sami rolled up Orton, only for Shane to kind of stop counting after 2 because Shane's a dick. That's the best way I can put it. And from what I've heard about SmackDown the last few weeks, that's kind of been a running theme. Shane is a dick. Now, I even wrote in my notes, Shane came off as such a dick in this match, and he's the good guy? But basically after that, Daniel Bryan started chewing out Shane McMahon. Orton went for an RKO on Sami, only for Sami to roll up Orton, and Daniel Bryan to make the 3 count, to make a very fast 3 count, I should point out. Which, despite the fact that Sami and Kevin are supposed to be the bad guys, the fact that Bryan did that fast count felt so satisfying. Just seeing Shane get screwed which is not the ideal position considering Shane is supposed to be the good guy. I should also point out that, because this was brought up several times by commentary, besides the fact that it was unprecedented to have 2 refs in the ring at the same time, there was an added stipulation to the match that if Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn were to lose, they would be fired from all of WWE. They made several points to mention this fact all throughout the match. If Sami and Kevin lose, they will be fired from all of WWE. I thought this meant maybe, when I was making my predictions, I thought this meant maybe that, I didn't hear about the all of WWE part. I just heard if Sami and Kevin lose, they're fired. So I thought this meant, okay, they're going to lose, then they're going to go to SmackDown, then they're going to go to Raw, and then SmackDown is going to remain the Shane McMahon show. I'll admit, when I went into my predictions for this, I got very, very cynical, which tends to happen with me when it comes to WWE. I get very, very cynical very quickly when I don't understand something. It's kind of just how I am. But yeah, Sami and Kevin won via very fast 3 count from Daniel Bryan, and now it seems like there's a storyline building between Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon. Maybe Bryan's been cleared to wrestle and he's going to face Shane at WrestleMania, which on the one hand, it's great that Daniel Bryan could be wrestling again, although, only time will tell if he actually has been cleared or not. But on the other hand, I don't want to see Shane wrestle anymore. I really don't. I'm sick of it. You put him in with the right opponent, which Daniel Bryan could put on a good match with him. But, if Daniel Bryan gets cleared, I think he could put on a good match with Shane. But the problem is, I'm sick of seeing Shane wrestle, to be honest. I'm sick of his punches that look that his conventions that are so unconvincing. My 5-year-old niece could throw a more convincing punch. I don't want to see him wrestle anymore. That's really all I'm trying to say on that one. So let's move on to the main event. AJ Styles defending his WWE Championship against the modern-day Maharaja, Jinder Mahal. I can't roll the R's like Sunil and Samir Singh do. I can't roll my R's like that. And this was, again, it was an okay match. I think the match in Manchester was better. Basically, you had this 2 sides of the story being told here. You had Jinder working on the midsection of AJ, trying to take away his power and his ability to kind of move quickly. And you had AJ working on Jinder's leg, which actually played into the finish. This was probably one of the most smartly booked title matches I've seen. This was probably one of the most smartly booked matches on this show, I should say. Because you had AJ making sure to keep the Singh brothers at bay while still constantly working on Jinder's leg for his finisher, the calf crusher. And then you had the ref kicking out the Singh brothers towards the end, only for them to come back. AJ took both of them out. He took out Sunil. I forget their names, I'm sorry. He took out Sunil with, I think, phenomenal forearm. Might have been Sunil, might have been Samir. I'm not good with twins, I'm sorry. Oh, they're not even twins. I haven't been able to put the names to faces yet. To be fair, I haven't been able to do it properly with the Usos either, I think. Then he hit the Styles Clash on the other brother, only to go in, hit a phenomenal forearm on Jinder. Sorry, he went for a phenomenal forearm. Jinder knocked him down. Jinder tried to go for a Styles Clash, kind of to add insult to injury, only for AJ to counter into his leg lock finisher, the calf crusher. Jinder almost made it to the ropes, only for AJ to roll back, lock in the calf crusher again, and Jinder tapped. Which is actually really cool, because I don't think AJ's won a whole lot of matches with the calf crusher in WWE. The only one I could think of off the top of my head was against Chris Jericho at Fastlane last year. again, with this match, I kind of had the outcome spoiled for me on Twitter, so I probably wasn't as invested as I could have been if I was watching it live, which is just kind of a running thing for me. You know, if I'm not watching it as it's happening, I'm probably not going to be as invested unless it's like something that blows me away. You know, like the last time I can remember, outside of New Japan, the last time I was blown away by a match in WWE, having watched it after the fact, was Pete Dunne versus Tyler Bate at NXT TakeOver Chicago. That was, honest to God, one of, if not the best matches that WWE put on this year. If it isn't the best, it's definitely top 3, along with Cena, Styles, and Velveteen Dream and Aleister Black. That was a good match as well. But yeah, after that, just to basically sum it up again, the show was okay. It didn't blow me away, but it was definitely better than I was expecting, because once again, when it comes to me in WWE, I get very cynical. So this is also kind of me eating my crow, because I'll eat crow when I have to. And you know, I was cynical. I called it wrong because of that, and I'm glad I was wrong. I'm always glad to be proven wrong about this kind of stuff. So, for those of you who watched Clash of Champions, what did you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. If you guys would like to follow me on social media, I am on Twitter at KiraKennedyHNR, Tumblr at KiraKennedyHNR.tumblr.com, and of course, you can always check out my Facebook page at facebook.com/KiraKennedyReviews. I apologize for all these cuts. I'm very, very, or all this time I'm kind of stopping to yawn. I'm still really tired from today. But if you guys would like to support the channel a little bit further, you can always consider checking out my Ko-fi page. Link is down below in the description. And as always, if you'd like to check out any of my past work, my Let's Plays, my stream archives, even my reviews, you can do so at peanutbutterdisaster.com. So until tomorrow, I'm Kira Kennedy, and thank you for watching.
Peanut butter disaster.